Hello, teachers. This is Unit 3, Week 1, Lesson 4 of the Middle School ENL Standalone curriculum. This week we focus on the Rogoshevsky family and the essential question, how do economic conditions affect our community? So during this lesson, students will begin with an opening do now routine, analyzing a photo. You can assign this set of slides directly to your students if you want to. These are located in the Video Adapted Resources folder for this lesson for Teach Hub. So they start with the opening do now routine, analyze the image. There's some sentence stems right there, so they can just fill in the blank. Next, they will do a before the reading activity by reading the picture book, Brave Girl, Clara, and the Shirtwaist Makers Strike of 1909. There's also some space right here on this slide for them to answer questions directly. So once again, if you'd like to just assign this PowerPoint to them or this Google Slides to them for this lesson, those two pieces are already built in. The next slide here is the same thing, just without the text boxes. And before you get into the reading, you'll set the purpose. So we'll do that together. Following that, the students will listen to a recording of the text. So both of those things are linked here. The text that's linked here is a PDF. So if you would like to use the document version, please see the resources in Teach Hub and then do the discussion questions as a class. In this video, we will meet back here to go over the after the reading. So to introduce these 3 discussion questions, so you'll discuss with the class. Today, they're looking at helpful neighbors, so that metric from the New York City Community Health Profiles. So this will be a discussion rather than a writing. And finally is the extend the learning. So they will find what the helpful neighbors rate is in their own community, their own school community, and compare it to the Lower East Side and Chinatown. And a teacher model is included here. All right, so let's go ahead and start this lesson together. All right, week 1, the Rogoshevsky family. Day 4, essential question, how do economic conditions affect our community? Today we'll be reading a text called Balancing Work and Family Life, and it's an informational text. Can someone read the lesson objectives out loud? Thank you. To identify connections between texts, constructing new ideas, and to make logical inferences from the close reading of a text. So here we have an image, and you are going to tell us what you see, what you think, and what you wonder. So pause the video now and come on back when you're done. All right, so I hope that we figured out one thing we saw, one thing we thought, and one thing we wondered about this photo. Please go over with your class and ask your teacher if you have any questions. Now we are going to do a before reading activity. So go ahead and click on this link right here, or your teacher will give it to you. We're going to watch and follow along with the reading of a book called Brave Girl, Clara, and the Shirtwaist Makers Fire of 1909. Sorry, the Shirtwaist Makers Strike of 1909. So that's the importance of reading carefully. So I'm going to read that one more time all together. So we are going to be reading and watching the picture book, Brave Girl, Clara, and the Shirtwaist Makers Strike of 1909. Whew. Okay, so once you read that, there are 2 questions for you to answer in these boxes. So this first question is, how does this story remind you of the texts we read this week? And for number 3 right here, you're going to write 2 sentences describing how the actions of these young women in the early 1900s helped to change the history of the United States and the movement for labor rights. So go ahead and pause right here so you can go ahead and listen to the reading and answer these 2 questions here. So go ahead and pause now. All right, welcome back. So we are going to set the purpose for our reading today. So I'm looking at this orange box down here that says set the purpose. Today we are going to finish our focus on the Rogoshevsky family. Pay attention to how the author shows the importance that the family placed on achieving a work and life balance. Read that one more time to yourself. All right, now it's time to get into the text. So you will listen to a recording of the text, respond to the guided questions in the text, and address the discussion questions with your class. So you're going to listen, read and respond to the guiding questions, and then discuss these questions right here with your class. So go ahead and pause the video now to complete those tasks and come on back when you're done. All right. So for today, after the reading activity, we're going to continue to connect to our community using the New York City Community Health Profiles. So I'm going to read this right here at the top. For today's connecting activity, we are going to be looking at the impact that our neighbors and community members can have on our health. First, review the data below and respond to the prompts. So this right here says, strong social connections can have a positive impact on the health of community members. Feeling that our neighbors are willing to help each other is one aspect of community connection. In the Lower East Side and Chinatown, 66% of residents think that their neighbors are willing to help one another. This is similar to the rest of the city. So right here, we're seeing this data. So I see the Lower East Side and Chinatown, 66% of adults are reporting that their neighbors are willing to help one another. For Manhattan as a whole, 70% are willing to report that their neighbors are willing to help one another. New York City as a whole, 72% are willing to report that their neighbors are willing to help one another. And the highest neighborhood is Tottenville and Great Hills, where it's 86%. So now you're going to discuss with your class. So the first question here, is the data point for the Lower East Side similar to the citywide rate? So here you'd be comparing Lower East Side and Chinatown and New York City. Number two, how much greater is the percentage for Tottenville, so down here in the green, and the Lower East Side up here at the top? So you're going to find the difference between those two. And number three, how have your neighbors and community members helped your family or friends? If you want to prepare for this discussion by writing down some notes and answers, please do that on a separate Google Doc or separate sheet of paper, or if your teacher has one for you already to take notes. All right, go ahead and pause the video for your discussion now. All right, I hope you all had some great discussions with your classmates and were able to look at this data, analyze this data. So for the closing and connecting, your teachers may ask you to do anything from this blue, yellow, or gray box, but right now I'm going to focus on what's right here in the green box, the extend the learning. So you're going to go back to your New York City Community Health Profile, so you can click on this link here in the slides, and you're going to find the one for the neighborhood that your school is located in. And then you're going to answer, how does the helpful neighbors rate in your community compare to the Lower East Side and Chinatown? So I'm going to show you my example. So this graphic is on page 8 of the Community Health Profile, and I went back and looked at Central Harlem as I have for the other lessons in this week. So I see that Central Harlem has a rate of 73%, Lower East Side and Chinatown has a rate of 66%, and now I'm going to write a sentence. So the helpful neighbors rate in Central Harlem is 73%, while the rate in Lower East Side and Chinatown is 66%. So go ahead and do the same for your own neighborhood, and I will see you back next time for day 5 of week 1 of the Unit 3 Middle School Standalone curriculum.